And welcome once again to another episode of Stu Him Productions Presents
J&M Solve the World. I am James.
And I am Matt. And with us once again is our very special guest, Andrew.
Hello.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
Just to get the crickets.
It's so good to feel like home.
You got to give the people what they want.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight's topic is a little something that we know a little bit about. Inflation.
Inflation. You mean like when you inflate your tire?
No.
No. Oh.
No. It's a bunch of bullshit is what it is.
Yeah.
Coming out of, now granted, none of us have lived in a depression.
What they officially called
A depression.
not the Great Depression of the 1930s.
Correct.
Right.
But, you know, coming out of a pandemic, everything was going the way it was. And then all of a sudden, everything just started skyrocketing.
Part of that was supply and demand got all screwed up.
Yep.
Because, you know, I mean, gas got so cheap during the lockdown because the demand was way low.
Right.
You know, and they had a huge supply. But then when things started opening, and we're not talking about Missouri.
Right.
We're talking about the entire world
National average
was shut down.
Yes.
So no country was using as much, you know,
Petrol.
oil as they would normally use.
Right.
And so, you know, our fuel prices plummeted. You know, got down close to $1 there at one point.
Yeah.
But as things started opening back up.
No, those were golden times, by the way,
Yeah.
when your vehicle has a 36-gallon tank.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, as things started opening back up, and the demand went back, and then the big war over in Ukraine started, and the sanctions, and that, you know, and then anytime somebody farts close to the Middle East, oil prices go up.
Right.
Because it's a publicly traded entity now.
Right. Well, and Russia was one of the, aside from the Middle East, because, I mean, let's face it, Russia is the largest country in the world.
Right. Physically.
Exactly. Geographically,
yeah.
they are the biggest country in the world.
Right.
And they have, I mean, they're one of like the top 5 exporters of oil.
Right.
And,
well, you know, I heard years ago, we were talking about all the oil from the Middle East, and actually at that time, Russia and the United States were the #1 oil producers, even over the Middle East.
right.
But we were buying a lot of oil from the Middle East, but a lot of our oil was going to other countries,
Right.
which made no sense to me.
Exactly.
But, you know,
And, you know, and we have enough oil to sustain our own country. And what I don't understand is like diesel fuel. Diesel fuel takes less to refine than gasoline, but diesel fuel is so much more expensive. And there's more.
It runs the country. Your trucks, trains.
Right. I can remember a day when diesel was about half the price of gasoline,
Exactly.
which is what it should be.
Yep.
But you go back to the oil companies, and you know, they're like, okay, what do we sell more of? And you think we buy a lot of gas, but you think about all the trains, the trucks, and everything that are transporting all of our goods and everything. Well, most of that is diesel.
Yep.
And they're like going, we can make more money off that shit than
Right.
selling Joe Blow gasoline at the get and go.
Well,
Or
and
come and go, whatever the fuck it is now.
you know, even though like military, even though all the trucks are quote unquote diesel, they run off a JP8. JP8 was made specifically for the military because everything runs off of it. Helicopters, planes, trucks, everything runs off of diesel.
Right.
But, and I was talking about this earlier today. We're in an inflation, supply and demand, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. If you want people to spend more money, lower prices. Because I guarantee if gas was down around $2 a gallon, more people will be traveling, which means more people will be spending money. The airlines might lose out a little bit because there's people driving instead of flying, but
yeah, but if their tickets were cheaper, because if they weren't paying as much,
yeah,
then that balance out.
Right. But I mean, you lower the price of gas, and a lot more people are going to be on the road. A lot more people are going to be stopping places and buying stuff. If you're saving at the pump, and I'm not talking 5 cents a gallon.
Right.
I'm not talking 10 cents a gallon. No, I'm talking you're saving $1 per gallon. Like, I guarantee if I had my truck back when I first got out of the Marine Corps in '96, and I was paying 89 cents a gallon, $36 to fill my fucking truck up.
Right.
Oh, hell.
You bet your ass I'd be fucking driving everywhere.
Yep.
And then I'd still bitch about it, but
Well, yeah. And I'm going to play the devil's advocate here because 4th of July weekend, Memorial Day weekend, Labor Day weekend. Around here, it didn't look like nobody was not driving.
Right.
I mean, freaking roads were packed and shit. It's like, okay. And Memorial Day weekend, gas was $4 something a gallon. Mm-hmm. And we're, $3.39 in Buffalo. I think it's $3.39, $3.36, something like that.
Yeah, you guys are sitting at $3.39.
Yeah, you're probably, $3.15 up there?
I got gas yesterday morning at $3.06.
Really?
Yeah. And if I had a flex fuel fucking vehicle and I could use E85, I'd be paying less than $2.
Less than $2 or less than $3?
Less than $2.
Really?
Because the E87 up there at this Casey's was like $2.99, and then the E85, which is
that's what I said, less than $3, not less than $2.
the E87, but the E85 was down around. Well, I mean, it was probably like $2.15,
Right.
but still $2.15 a gallon.
Supposedly the cars that can use those don't get as good a mileage on the
Right.
E80s, whatever.
Yeah, the E85.
Right. Let's say you're getting 30 on regular gas.
Yeah.
They're getting 25, 27,
Right.
something like that. So there's kind of a trade-off.
Yeah, there is, but
It don't hurt your ass as much when you fill it up. You just got to fill it more often.
right, and like I've got the heavy haul package in my truck. That's why I have the 36-gallon tank.
Right.
36-gallon tank of E85. If it was flex fuel,
I suppose.
Okay.
Well,
Sure.
probably because you got the EcoBoost turbo that it's not flex.
yeah, yeah. But it's weird because my VIN, if I run it through one of those VIN, it's like, oh, well, according to your VIN, this is your vehicle, blah, blah, blah. The VIN says my truck's supposed to be an FX4, flex fuel, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. But then I go to Ford and I'm like, hey, my VIN says this here, but what is my VIN actually saying? And they're like, okay, type. Nope. You got the heavy haul. You got an EcoBoost. Do not use flex fuel in it.
Right.
And it's like, okay.
At least it didn't say you need to use premium fuel in it.
Well, that's what mine says to use, is that.
The premium?
Yeah, that
91, 93.
91, yeah.
The
Really?
non-ethanol.
They say we prefer that you use that. But they ain't filling it up. I am. So I'm
Yeah.
using 87 until gas prices come down.
Well, if you were You know, if
that happens.
if you were hauling a heavy load all the time, I would say,
Yeah.
you probably should.
Right, but I'm just, I'm just hauling my fat ass from
Right.
And your totes
Well-
that are in the back.
What?
And your totes.
Yeah, I ain't
Well,
hauling much.
and you can get the octane booster.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Now my brother's Audi, no, it clearly says to use 91 or more, but it's also a quattro turbo. It's also a German vehicle.
Well, your new Corvettes, your BMWs, there's a lot of vehicles that recommend, Harley Davidson motorcycles recommend you run premium fuel in them.
Right. Now, talking to a Harley mechanic, and he said, like on a road trip, it's fine to run 87 because you're going full empty, full empty, full empty.
But just bumping around town.
That ethanol is not staying in your tank. And that's what like really eats up the lines is that ethanol.
Years ago, there used to be a gas station by the old Walmart in Bolivar, and you could get 94 octane there.
Race fuel.
94,
No.
93, wasn't it?
93, 94. It was Gas Mart or...
Oh, yeah. I
It
remember
was
that.
that little bitty building there. Had like 3 pumps out front.
Yep.
But that was the highest octane fuel you could buy. Well, I had a 74 Mustang. I'd put a V8 in it, but I had dumps on it, which dumps are your exhaust pipe comes out where they bend in. I had guys weld 2-inch pipe on there with caps on it, so you could run open exhaust.
Right.
If I run just at that time, I don't think 87 even existed. It was 88.
Yeah. 88, 89.
Yeah, but if I ran that in it, the exhaust was so much louder than if I put that 93 or 94 in it. It just burned it that much more efficient that it was quieter, But whether I don't know if I got better mileage because I always had my fucking foot in it, so that wasn't really, it held like 10, 11 gallons.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
There's
I visited a gas station quite a bit back then.
there's a guy at work who's got a oh god, I can't even remember it. It was the last Mustang GTs with the 4.6 before they went back to the Coyotes, and it's got the Borla exhaust on it and everything, and oh my god,
Cody sent me a picture the other day. It was
Cody is his grandson, by the way.
my grandson Cody. Shout out Cody. It was an '88 Mustang, bright red.
Oh,
Had the cowl induction hood on it.
Easy, Matt, easy.
$12,000. And I'm like, what the fuck? Well, I got to read the description on it.
yeah.
It had a 404 small block. It'd been bored. I don't know
Jesus
where.
Christ.
Oh,
It,
honey,
it
hush.
probably started out as a 351
Yeah.
that was bored and punched. Of course, had the fuel injection on it, had a built transmission, built rear end, blah, 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 suspension, da, 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 da.
Yeah.
And I messaged him back, that'll get you in trouble.
Yeah, no shit.
Save up.
But I seen him a couple of days later, and he goes, I actually sent that to you because thought maybe you might want it. And I'm like, yeah, it'd be cool.
Yeah.
But practicality, no.
Right. And I've
I
had
mean, I want something again, like my old blue one. That
Oh, my God.
When you hit the ignition, it's like, and the girl sitting in the passenger seat screams a little bit,
And I'm done.
I've had a love affair with Fox bodies because, well,
Yeah.
my very first car was an 81 Mustang. It was a notchback, and it had a 4-speed, 4-cylinder. I got it in 89, and this thing had 98,000 miles on it.
All right.
It had a bad motor mount. The CV boots were fucking bad. 55, it's shaking. It's like I'm shaking a fucking martini here. Man, this is fucking awesome. Woo!
She's coming apart, Captain.
Yeah. we were on our way up to Worlds of Fun, and let me tell you, 16 years old, you know, you don't care where you're trying to get a little something. In the back seat of a notchback Mustang is not the place to try to get a little something.
No, because they had reclining front bucket seats, and that was the place to get some something.
Not when it was a 4-speed manual transmission.
No, you crawl over, you get out, you walk around, and you get in there, and you recline the seat.
Yeah.
And then
But again, I was 16. I was not knowledgeable.
You can get a little extra leverage in the floorboard, and of course, you may have footprints on your headliner when you're done.
Or you just lay in the seat and you lean it back yourself. Just saying. Anyways, back to inflation.
That's a different kind of inflation.
Back to inflation. But no, I mean, it's like, it's greed.
Exactly.
And it's not greed on our level.
No.
But it's greed on those that know that people have no choice.
Right.
You know, you've got dipshits that made comments like, well, if you're upset about the gas prices, get an electric car.
Okay.
Well, and if an electric car, and I think we've talked about this on our electric car podcast.
Right.
Yeah, if you buy a brand new one, you get all these kickbacks from the EPA, yada, yada. But then you turn around and you buy a used one, you're not getting those kickbacks.
Right.
You're still paying $50,000 for a fucking car that
You can buy a Tesla 3 brand new for $36,000.
right. I'm just spitballing here.
Conversation's sake.
If somebody's got one, it's got 100,000 miles on it, and they're selling it for 50, they're going to own that sumbitch for a while.
Oh,
I would think.
yeah.
Turn that into a flower pot.
But I mean,
Unless it was that a Tesla Roadster that was, what are they, 150, 160,000? That's the highest priced Tesla.
Yeah.
But it's a fucking badass car.
Elon needs to get NASCAR or Teslas into NASCAR.
Boy, and you thought Toyota getting into NASCAR caused a shit fit.
Dude.
Imagine if Tesla.
Talk about a shitstorm.
Oh, man.
If they had a rapid charger.
The boys in Alabama would be shitting themselves if the Tesla got in there.
Oh, hell.
If they had a rapid charger like they do to where they could charge up the Tesla like they do with gasoline. Road courses, I could see it.
Oh, yeah.
You know? But
Of course, restarting, they'd pass everybody before turn one.
no. You know, or even yet, have a Tesla pace car.
I'm surprised that, well, they've had electric pace cars.
Right. But they've been like the Mach E,
The Mach E,
or the Volt, or,
I
you
don't
know.
think they've done a Volt, have they?
They've probably done a Lightning in the truck series.
I think they have. I think they've done the Toyota, the electric Camry.
Oh, the electric Camry. Oh, I
Yeah.
thought you were going to say they did a Prius.
No.
You can't say it without having a lisp.
Yay.
Prius.
Hello, Peanut.
Jeff Dunham.
Jeff Dunham.
Jeff.
Jeff Fafa.
But no, the inflation thing. It's you know, when they see it, it seems like when these big corporations see an opportunity to overcharge for shit. That's what causes it. You know,
Right.
We've got a clear. Of course, I do body work. That when it came out back in. I want to say it was probably the mid 90s.
Yeah.
It was $140 a gallon. And we're like, son of a bitch, this is expensive as crap.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I haven't used that clear in a long time. We've got these other clears that I use quite often, but they were having trouble getting them. But they sent me a gallon of this clear that I'd used years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay. I looked at the ticket, that same gallon of clear, it's the same shit, They haven't changed it.
What, 300?
$500.
Yeah. I was off, but yeah.
I'm like,
500.
$500.
Shit.
I'm like, son of a bitch.
Add 3 more hundred of that, and she got my paycheck for a week. Damn.
So it's like, geez, I mean, of course, PPG, they're notorious for about a 10% increase every year. Mm-hmm. What used to be DuPont, Exalta, now they're kind of noted for doing 2 of them a year. Some of them, some stuff goes up, some stuff stays the same and everything. But I think that's the worst part about getting older is remembering what shit used to cost. Mm. And I'm not talking about different products. I'm talking about the same fucking clear. Went from $142, I think, when it first came out, to over $500 now. Of course, it's been 25 years.
Right. What was gas 30 years ago at Signal in Buffalo?
79 cents? 69, 79?
69, 79, 89. 69 for 87.
Yep.
79 for 88. And 99, or... No, it was 70, 80, 99. 99 cents for 89 octane, which was premium.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
What was you making a week back then? Dun, 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 dun.
Fuck, I don't know. I don't even know how much I was making an hour working at Sonic in Buffalo before I left for the Marine Corps. Now, I can tell you what my Marine Corps checks were. $293 every 1st and 15th.
So, not even $150 a week.
Correct. And I was stationed in California where gas was even higher.
Right. Because remember back in 08,
No.
when the recession, that big recession hit and everything, and gas got up over.
I was in Afghanistan during '08.
Anyway,
So I wasn't paying dick for gas.
gas around here got to $4.19 a gallon.
Jesus Christ.
And this was before Obama got elected. Now this was still under Bush. This was that summer because I remember that summer quite well because I was laid up for my motorcycle wreck. Mm-hmm. But gas got up to $4.19. It cost $50 to fill up my little Toyota Celica back then. And once I finally got back to work, I was bitching about it, and this guy said, "Well, how much was gas when you first started driving?" I'm like, "I don't know, 50, 60 cents a gallon." He's like, "Well, how much was you making a week back then?" Well, $150, $175 a week. And, and I wasn't making minimum wage. And
Yeah.
A lot of my friends were working for $3.75 an hour,
Yeah.
something like that. So I thought I was doing pretty good. And he said, "Well, what are you making now compared to what gas costs?" I'm like, "Good point, but 6 months ago it was fucking $2.20 a gallon.
Right.
Now it's $4.19.
Well, see, and because when I came home on leave from Afghanistan, that deployment, my ex and I, we had looked at trading in her Blazer, excuse me, and getting a new vehicle because I'd made her that promise. You move to Kansas or you move to Tennessee, you take care of my house, my credit and everything, and I'll get you a new vehicle when I get back. Mm-hmm. Well, found a. So 09. So this would have been an 07 Dodge pickup.
Right.
And it was still a Dodge, not a fucking Ram. It was still a Dodge. It was a Dodge Ram.
They're still
But-
Dodges.
No, the Rams.
Yeah, they're Rams now,
Not a Dodge Ram, but just a Ram. Like there's no Dodge badging or anything. Anyways, it was an extended cab, four-wheel drive, yada yada, blah blah blah. And they only wanted like $10,000 for this truck because guy traded it in when gas prices were fucking astronomical.
Right.
And the only way I couldn't get it is because they didn't show that I had a auto loan. That was the only thing. Because when I came back from Iraq, I paid cash for my Durango.
Right.
I mean, I bought it off of somebody, but I mean, I paid fucking $6,000 cash. Boom. There you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't. And then the company that had the loan on my Harley, well, it was an overseas company, so they don't report to the fucking.
Right. So you
credit
had no
bureaus.
credit.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was like having no credit was worse than having bad credit.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So
Because if you, at least if you got bad credit, you show that you've had a credit history. Yep. That's
bunch of bullshit.
the inflation thing, and it's like, you know, honestly, I can remember back in the 70s when interest on a house loan was 17, 18%.
Yeah.
You know, and the inflation was super high and everything. We've honestly lived through a pretty good time in the last 20 or so years where homeowners' interest rates have been down
And now they're starting
3,
to go up.
4.
Yeah.
Well, they're raising them to counteract inflation, is
Yeah.
what they're saying.
Right. But now everybody because I've been, looking at homes up in Kansas City, and a big driving force there is school districts.
Oh, yeah.
Because like where I live, it's a very prominent school district. It's graduation rate is high. Their athletics department is really good. Their, academic, whatever. But then the next town over, you could take two houses exactly the same. This side, you're looking at about 310. You go to this side over here, same exact house. Now you're looking at about 280.
Right.
There's like a $30,000 difference.
Right. It's because the school district.
Right. And
Of course, you're not worried about that now.
no, I don't give a fuck about a school district because my daughter is grown.
And guess what? Your taxes on that side is probably cheaper too because the school district's worse.
Well, there's no difference in the city tax. It's the same county.
No, but I mean, if like when you look down a breakdown of our taxes here,
Yeah.
where we're at, we pay school tax to Bolivar.
Okay.
If we lived a little bit further east, our school tax would be at halfway,
Okay.
and they're different
Yeah.
percentages, Then
Yeah.
if we lived in Dallas County, it'd be Buffalo.
Right.
If we lived in Hickory County, it'd be Skyline
Yeah.
And
or Max Creek, depending on what part of Hickory County you live
right.
Yeah.
And I looked at it because I work in Jackson County, so I'm already paying a Kansas City tax because I work in Jackson County. So it's like, fuck, I might as well try to find a house in Jackson County to offset. I mean, I'm already paying that tax anyways.
in. Right.
I mean, why pay that tax and live in like Cass County?
Or we can live in Florida and pay no state income tax and get wiped out by a hurricane.
Or I can live in Tennessee and not pay a fucking state income tax.
What was
And a lot prettier country and not have to worry about fucking hurricanes. Maybe a tornado every now and then. Maybe a hurt, but
a fracking earthquake. That's what they have in Oklahoma. Supposedly they're caused by fracking, but who knows? Oh shit, what's the fault line we got there in southern Missouri?
New Madrid.
New Madrid. If that bad boy goes off again like it did before, yeah, we're going to be probably not fucked, but shit's going to get fucked up. Because they say that bells rang in Boston when that thing went off. Because that's why the Mississippi's got that little crook in it down there at the boot heel.
Yep. I remember when it kind of went off, and like all the towns along the Mississippi on the eastern side like flooded. It's like
My brother Gary, his ex-wife, her folks lived down in Lutesville, and it wasn't uncommon for them to have tiles pop off their kitchen from little tremors and shit. You know, this has not been that long ago.
Yeah.
You know, of course, we were sitting around here one night. It was in the wintertime, and we'd had like an ice type event. It wasn't bad. It wasn't like the 07 ice storm, but we had ice on. And all of a sudden we heard this pop. The fuck was that? The only thing we could figure out is maybe we had a little tremor. You know, that we didn't feel it.
Yeah.
But it cracked the ice. You know, because it was just, it was a sound of ice cracking, but it was huge.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this is fucking weird. We're not in California. What the fuck?
Now, let me tell you, I slept through a fucking small earthquake in California. Best sleep on land.
It was like
Because, I mean, there was just enough shaking there where you just like in a cradle and it's like,
rock to sleep.
yeah. Now, fucking hitting a typhoon in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
Not so fun.
On the boat, on the boat that I was on, because it goes aircraft carrier, LHA, and then down from there. So I was on a pretty big boat, and as long as you were laying this way with the boat, because I mean we would stop, we weren't sailing through the typhoon, but we would stop, so the boat's just doing this number,
Shit.
and you're just like, ah. And then you hear, you hear horror stories from everybody else, or, you know, the one time I was glad I wasn't tall, because it's like anybody over 6 foot had like scars and stitches and shit all on their head where they were
Trying
hit
to go
it
through
on
the doorway and
Yep.
bam. Yeah.
Yep. And it's like, sucks to be you, but you know, it was okay. Fuck. We're way off of info.
Way off.
Again, but hey.
Okay. When I left Missouri to go to California, you know, regular gas was 79 cents a gallon.
Right.
I get out to California, and now it's $1.19. And it's like, really? Is gas that much more? I mean...
What gets me is around here, it's been a dime cheaper in Buffalo than it has been in Bolivar for a year or so now.
Yeah.
But what was funny, when I worked in Bolivar back before 02, gas was always cheaper in Buffalo. Then I go to work in Buffalo, and it switched. Comes from the same fucking pipeline.
Yep.
Comes from the same tap.
Yep. Same gas companies delivering to...
Brookline.
Yep.
It's that whole school tax.
I don't know, because, you know, of course, they used to put on the pumps, the state tax and the federal tax. It was like 21, 25 cents combined. So it was like 13 cents for one, whatever. And you're going, but it's $4. What the fuck? You can't blame taxes on it, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, the oil is a little different subject than a lot of other stuff, just because it's a publicly traded, you know. And like I say, every time somebody fucking sneezes crossways in the Middle East, they're like, oh, fuck, there's going to be a war, or Russia invades Ukraine. And it just drives that shit up. And if you drive the fuel prices up, well, then the price of everything else has got to go up.
Right.
Because these companies that are bringing your shit to you, they've got they bitch about how much it's affecting their business. Well, it's not affecting their business, because they just pass the expense on to the wholesaler, who passes it on to us.
Right. Yeah. So I work for a office supply company in Kansas City, and you know we that part of it I'm not really a part of. You know, they take stuff to local businesses, soda, paper, toilet paper, whatever that companies need.
Right.
I work on the network services side, so I don't have to really deal with that. But no, I understand what you're saying, because we have a fleet fuel card that's good at one certain chain of gas stations, and yeah, I mean, depending on what side of the state line, because being in Kansas City, we deliver on the Kansas side and the Missouri side,
Right.
and there's actually a satellite company down here in Bolivar, and they deliver Springfield, Branson, all the places down around here. But, and I'm sure they've got a different gas card, fleet card, whatever down here than we do up there. But yeah, I mean, I understand that, because gas goes up. As a driver, I don't give a shit. I'm going to go in, I'm going to swipe my card, I'm going to put in my driver number, and I'm going to put in my odometer reading.
Right.
And fill it up and go about my day.
Same here.
So, but looking back at the company, it's like, okay, we've used X amount of fuel in the last 30 days. Okay. Well, we're going to have to bring our prices up to offset that.
Right.
And
Fuel surcharge.
Yep.
Well, I mean, that's just like us in the body shop business. When our materials go up, we have to raise our material price.
Mm-hmm.
You wonder, you hear politicians talk about, well, we want higher paying jobs and everything, and everybody should make a living wage. I mean,
right.
But the higher you're getting, the more money you're getting paid, the more what you buy is going to cost you.
Right.
Because if Joe Blow's making sneakers for $6, then the company's got to mark them back X amount. Well, if he's making them for $20, well, they got to go up that much more, plus their profit, and blah, 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 blah.
Well, and
this is just a vicious cycle.
Well, and, to go off of that, you got everybody screaming to raise minimum wage. Yes, it needs to raise, because it hasn't been raised in, nationally, it hasn't been raised since, I think, $7.25 or some bullshit like that.
Something like that.
But that's the thing is.
But on that same token, I can argue this. Like McDonald's employees and stuff wanting $15 an hour. Okay. That shouldn't be your goal job.
Right.
I mean, now if you want to get into management and stuff like that, fine.
Right.
But most people are young kids who are still in school.
Yep.
Or whatever.
Part-time job.
Part-time job.
School. Right.
Get through school, work full-time during the summer, or whatever. Right. That should be your getting into the workforce and figuring out, you got to show up on time, you got to do your fucking job,
Good starting
and then go
point.
pursue what you want to do. Whether you want to work in an office or whether you want to be a fucking stand-up comedian or
right.
Or
whatever.
if you want to be in management at McDonald's.
Right.
Whatever.
Well, stick with it then. Stay there. Get, it's just like
taking the promotions as they come along.
You was talking about
Get your feet wet.
You wanted to get into the radio business. Well, most radio personalities, with their first job at a radio station, they don't get paid nothing.
Right.
They're interning.
Yep.
They've got to work at McDonald's or wherever, or not just to single out McDonald's, but any fast food or waitress job or bartender job or whatever.
But McDonald's is international. Right. And we do have some, I think, less than 1% of our audience is in the United Kingdom, and less than 1% of our audience is in India.
Well, shout out, Kutapali.
Yeah. But no, I mean, minimum wage, minimum knowledge. You want that higher paying job, get the higher knowledge.
Right.
And it's not necessarily going to college.
No. No.
Case in point,
Skilled labor force.
I know a person who started off pulling cable in high school.
Right.
He is now the director. He's been the director of IT for the last 10 years, you know, or five years or whatever. But he's self-taught. He knows more on developing networks and designing a network for a company than somebody that has a degree.
Right. Oh yeah.
And
Because he specialized in that company and that field. You know,
but I mean, he's moved companies,
right?
And he's worked for
in that same.
Yeah, it went from cabling to lead to, and I mean, he's moved up. And anytime he's ever left a job, it's always to go to something bigger,
right?
To learn more, and you know, I will say this because I'm not going to mention this person's name,
right?
But he is the most functioning pothead I've ever met in my life.
Right.
He's a 6-figure a year pothead.
Right.
But yeah, he started pulling cable when he was in high school, and now he's the director.
He was a pothead who had enough incentive to keep learning and keep moving up the ladder.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he's not like an alcoholic to where he's got to have it. But I've told this person on a time or two, you need to go fucking smoke. It's like the Snickers commercials with Joe Pesci,
right,
and they're talking to the
right.
girls. Here, have a Snickers.
Right.
Why? What are you saying? You know, but yeah, I mean, it's the same sort of thing. Dude, go take a hit of something because you're being a fucking prick.
Right.
But
You're here, but we need you down here.
Yep.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's, you know, there's, you know, like in the body shop industry, you know, you've got your skilled labor, you got your skilled body men, your skilled painters, your skilled frame men or whatever, or like me, I do all of them. But you hire a helper out of high school who's maybe had a little VOTEC training or something like that.
Right.
He don't know what I know.
Right.
Should he get paid the same amount of money I do?
No.
No. You know, he needs to work his way up.
Right.
Prove himself.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, it's,
Pay attention to what you're doing.
And
I'm not saying flipping burgers is not a hard job, because it's not fun and easy.
no, I mean, there is a little bit of a risk involved when you're working around hot surfaces, oil, you know, whatever. But I don't know. Minimum skill, minimum wage.
Sorry.
Higher skill, higher wage.
Right.
You know, I mean, where I'm at, it's because I know this portion of the job. I know this portion. I have this ability, and I can do this. And I mean, there's a lot of things involved into where I am today. And it's come from experience, and it's come from knowledge, and it's come from skill.
I mean, if I decided to switch occupations and go work somewhere and get my CDL, would I expect to make the same amount of money? And if I went to work for your boss, should I get paid the same amount as you do, just coming out of a school? And
okay, on that note, whatever I make and whatever you make, I get 31% of what I haul. You get 31% of what you haul.
Okay,
It depends on. It depends on.
Right.
Well,
that's kind of like
where I'm at. Your seniority.
Right.
You know, there's a guy that goes up Kansas City, takes glass, dumps it, goes like to Lee Summit or Raytown, loads more glass, takes it back to the same place, then goes over to somewhere, gets sand, comes back to Springfield, makes probably 300, 400, 500 one day.
Right.
But he's been there 12 years.
He gets the better jobs.
He's been there 12 years.
Right. He gets the better
Yeah,
better jobs.
right, because
Where you're hauling up to
seniority.
Sedalia and
Seniority. He does his job.
well, and
If
that's
there's a
like-
problem, he calls him, or whatever. He's doing it right.
right. Well, and the same thing. I make 50% commission on the labor.
Yeah.
And if we hired a kid out of OTEC, so okay, I'm gonna give you 50% on labor. You do this job. I'm gonna do this job.
Right.
Who's gonna get done quicker?
Right.
Who's gonna have less fuck ups?
Right.
You know?
Right. And it's
I mean, not that I don't ever fuck up because I'm human. I do.
right.
But that's and I asked years ago. I was working with this guy,
Excuse me.
and I said, "Well, how do you get?" Because I was getting paid hourly. And I said, "Well, how do you get your raise?" Because he was a commission guy. He said, "It's my skill." He said, "You and I can start on 2 jobs that are the identical," and he said, "I'm probably going to get done faster, and I can do more of them than you can."
Right.
I'm like, "Okay, fair enough."
And on that note, we're going to end this because I think we've covered like so much of the gambit of what inflation does, what we have lived through our combined
700 years,
of experience. But
Similar.
something similar.
on that note, you've just watched another episode of Stu Him Productions Presents.
J&M Solve the World. I have been James.
And I've been Matt, and he has been Andrew,
He is always Andrew.
a.k.a. Bullwinkle.
Thank you.
But until next time, keep one fist in the gold, one foot in the gutter, and we will be seeing you.
Peace out.